I remember walking outside of my apartment, and I was walking back and forth with my eyes closed and just started praying. And I asked God, I said, Lord, if you give me an out-of-body experience, I vowed to share your word and to tell the people what I saw, not expecting that God was going to respond back to that, because I was just praying out. I was just praying, not actually looking for a response. And after that night, the next morning, that Thursday, October the 2nd, I had a dream. And my spirit left my body. It was like I was in my apartment and my spirit got pulled out of my body. And I would go in these different transits, bright color lights. It was white, like the best way I can explain it would be shoo, 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 all the different flashing lights. And I appeared before a blue sky with no clouds. It was like a blue place, no land, no trees, no grass, no water, nothing. There was nothing there but a blue atmosphere. And I would see this atmosphere goes millions of miles upon millions of miles where nothing existed. It was like nothing was hidden. Everything was revealed. Everything was before your eyes. You could see it. And we was in this clear kind of body form, some form of light, as you would refer to a soul or a spirit, and I could see through. It was so transparent, and in front of me was thousands among thousands similar to what I was, and thousands among thousands behind me, and I knew that it was some form of a soul.
All of a sudden my eyes got like really dark. It's just like blacker than anything we've ever seen on earth. All of a sudden I felt like I was just falling, and I felt like a little bit of a chill, and I was falling. I felt so fearful. It was so black you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. I am feeling it more. I'm feeling more scared than I've ever felt in my life. I just started falling and falling and falling into like darkness as it started to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And then all of a sudden, like, it was like I landed like a quicksand. All of a sudden I felt like my eyes like start adjusting, like when you're trying to wake up, except reality felt more real than I've ever felt in my life. So the first thing I did was I looked up, and when I looked up, I thought I was looking at a sky, but it was pure darkness, pure black. It literally hurt your senses. It felt like fiery darts, like literally coming in my eyes, fiery darts hitting all my senses, all my pores, every fiber of my being. Like, it literally hurt so bad just looking in the darkness. And when I landed, I started looking, and I was like, realized I was like in like a pit, like a cave.
Man, this is the roughest one. So me just ignoring him for so many years, finally he like killed me. He let me know where I was gonna go when I was dying. I was in between death and the spiritual realm. So I was falling in this black abyss, falling so fast. It was so fast, and I could feel the wind from falling. It was taking my breath away. I couldn't even like breathe. And right away, I like everything is enhanced a million times. Like, you know everything instantly. You feel everything instantly. You hear everything instantly. This black abyss wasn't just like black, like my black t-shirt. Imagine this black enhanced by a million. Oh, that's how black. It was so black in this tunnel, or whatever it was. It was just, imagine somebody taking you in an airplane above a desert in the middle of the night and just pushing you off that airplane, and it's pitch black. And I was falling and falling and falling, and right away my soul told me. Right away, your soul talks to you. Like, it's I can't explain it. Like, the way I explain it in words is the closest I can get to the reality of it. But I was falling so fast, and usually when you have a dream that you're falling, you'll pop up, and that's what I was waiting for. I was like, well, come on, what? And then I knew right away when my soul told me, you're dead. And right away I said what we say in Islam is the shahada. And in Arabic, I'm going to say in Arabic, and then I'll translate it for you. But when I screamed this, the scream was so loud that in life I will I will blow the roof off my house. That's how I will bust out every windows, because your voice is enhanced 1,000,000 times. Everything is enhanced. Everything. You can feel every single hair, every single cell. You know everything. You hear everything, like enhanced. Everything is so crisp and piercing.
I began to look around and to observe the things that I saw, not knowing that this was a dream. I thought this was reality. I thought this was actually happening, and I looked forward, and there was this great shadow way in front of me, way at the end of the line. It was like 1,000 people in front of me, and there was a shadow, a great big shadow, but it had no detail. It was like as a vapor, and I could see that it was a shadow of something that was in the front. And I had many questions at this point in this dream, and out of nowhere, I heard these words: "Depart from me." And this galaxy, this portal, I don't know what to call it, on the right side of God, or Jesus Christ, whoever you decide to identify that spot of judgment, on the right side of him, there was this big portal that opened up, and there will be stones of fire. Normally when you get a lighter and you cut it on, try to spark a flame, but instead of fire, it was stones, and they will leak out of this portal. And whoever that guy said, "Depart from me," flew down this place. And the stones were so hot that it would burn everybody outside of that portal. On the left side of our body or our form, it would burn us. And everybody would be like, "Ooh," like as if it was so cold or so hot, you would tell somebody to close that door. It's too cold. That's how hot it was. And the portal closed. And then he sent them so fast that the screams were late. I would hear, "Ah!" Like it was like, "Depart from me." And it closed up. Then the screams come, "Ah!" And it terrified me. And then out of nowhere, something snatched us up. And like we moved up the line. And I began to think, I didn't understand where we was. I'm like, oh my God, maybe this is judgment. Yeah, I had many questions, and I would hear, "Depart me," "Depart me," "Depart from me," and all these different people will be sent to hell. And the part that scared me the most was the people that were getting judged. You could hear when God was talking to them, and you could hear everything they got judged from. So if somebody went to hell for something that you struggled with in your life, you know where you were going. And so I'm just seeing people go sit there, and I'm seeing the flame, and it's just constantly burning everybody outside that haven't been judged yet.
That fear instantly was like no fear I've ever felt before.
I had immense fear. That fear that in hell that you get, you cannot describe it. It's just it's fear multiplied by eternity, by million probably. It's like if you experience that fear on earth, you're going to die just from that fear.
It's constant. It's constant. The fear is constant. The hopelessness, the feeling of, oh my gosh, you're never, ever going to get out. You are stuck. Like you are never going to get out. When I started focusing on where I was, and I felt like I was about 2 football fields away, and I still felt like an ant to when I looked up and I saw black gates, which looked like they had been like on fire. So they were like a charcoal, and they were so, the evil. It's so hard to talk about.
But something said, "Look up." It was an instant look up. And when I looked up, wow, this would blew my mind. There were gates 80 to 100 feet tall. I mean, they looked like they used to have jewels on them, but all the jewels were taken. It was just rotten, ancient. But then the castle, it was a castle, mountainous city. That's the best way I could describe it. It looked like a old ancient castle, but a mountain. It was so huge, it was so big, but I knew the terror that came from this place, that if I went beyond those gates where those people were going, I knew that was the real hell. If I went past those gates, the beyond anything, I don't even know where to begin. I couldn't even describe, I don't even know, but I knew that was, yeah.
Still want to be a scoffer? Still want to be a mocker?
My soul was so much more sensitive because now, the human canvas is, what's covering our soul. The thing is when I was down there, my soul felt so much more sensitive. And it was from there that I looked through. It was like I didn't walk towards the gates. But I could see through the gates. It was like a lake. It was like a lake of fire, but it was like a big pit. A big, huge pit of love like fire. However, it was like I couldn't see the flames. I just saw the shimmering light.
Right before me, right in front of me, let's say 100 feet, maybe 200 feet, there was a pit, and it illuminated everything. It was like instantly, once I looked at that flame that illuminated from that pit, everything, I could see everything. I could see where I was. And there were rows and rows of pits aligned, and these pits were filled with people, hundreds of people in pits. And some of these people, were fully, naked, no clothing, but some of them had full bodies. Some of them were just pure bones. Some of them looked like had flesh still hanging, a zombie type look, but they were in lava and trying to scream, getting out like crabs in a barrel over each other, trying to get out. But the thing that got me, that already was beyond, but we're really, like I told you, your fear keeps going. Just when you think you're scared enough, you see things, and it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going.
Yeah, even if you don't even believe in God, your soul will know. Your soul will know that you're in hell.
I remember there was a woman, blonde hair, and God was talking to her. He said, I'm not judging you for what you put on Facebook, but I'm judging you on how everybody else received it. 300,000 people were led astray by one of her Facebook posts. And he said their blood was on her hands. And out of nowhere, he said, depart from me. And I'm talking about, I couldn't express how powerful his words were. It's as if he said, depart from me, and everything shook. And she was sitting with great force. And the portal opened up. She would go, and it would close. And the scream was so late, it terrified me. People, adultery, fornication, so many different things that I could actually hear. And people in front of me were terrified because a lot of those people were struggling or went through the same situation and they never repented. So 1,000, 1,000, sent here. They were flying. They was flying so fast. I've never seen something so fast. And it got to the point where I was next in line. And he called me up. And he started talking to me. And keep in mind that our life held us hand to hand. So anything we did in our life life testified against us. So you couldn't lie because your life testified. Say, yes, you did this at this time. Yes, you did. And whenever God would speak to me, you would see a big screen. Like you would see as if whatever God says, it comes to life.
And I'm going faster and faster and faster. And as the fastest I'm going, now I'm starting to hear these wicked laughs like demons. They're laughing. I can hear them clearly going, ee, just wicked. As I'm going faster, I don't know if you guys ever seen movies about a time machine. I just, when the time machine disappears and it comes back, well, as I was going faster, that's what I heard. And I find myself in this big, big, dark place. Dark. There's trees, dead trees. The ground, the sand was like gray, dirty gray. Whatever was behind me, I was able to see these things because there was a time where it's so pitch black, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark in there, you can't see anything. But whatever was behind me, I couldn't look back. But I can see in front of me, everything was dead, trees, and it was just dry. There was no love, there's nothing, just dead. And I'm moving forward slowly. And I but what I seen in my spirit when I was out of my body, there was 5 demons that ran around me. And they were covered in black, almost like witches and warlocks covered themselves. Some of them were different. Some of them have face of like rats. Some look like bats. You guys see these movies, these Hollywood movies, that they describe demons. See, Hollywood is based on the Antichrist. Witches and warlocks work for Hollywood. So they see demons. It's why they come out with these movies, because that's exactly how they look. So they make them as a mask and models, and they make movies like that. That's exactly how demons look. But these things are more 10 times stronger, 10 times bigger. Some of them have yellow eyes, green eyes, red light, eyes. Not beautiful little green, red light like Christmas lights. These eyes were evil,
I
wicked.
saw these giant, reptile, muscular, huge. And some of them had, the eyes were like blood red with the slit of a snake, like a reptile, like a snake will have a reptile eyes. And some of them had the bright yellow eyes with the slits. And they were all different sizes.
You can feel the hate, how they look at you. You can sense that hate. That hate is so overwhelming that not even a human being in this earth has that kind of hate.
The hate that came from these demons, from these creatures, it is so ancient. That's the first thing to do, is ancient. And they hate you so bad, you all. They hate us so bad. The hate, like I say, if the hate can be weaponized, we're in trouble. He said, remember I said, God buffer us from so much. Their hate alone would penetrate and destroy your physical body. We do not understand. Their hate alone, they hate us with so much zeal, so much beyond the scope of which you can. They feed off destroying you.
I'm in hell. I'm standing on this rock cliff type thing. I guess you could say it's just all rock, and the lighting is very bad. Obviously, it's supposed to be dark in hell, but he's allowing me to see. It's like Jesus took me, and he's allowing me to see what's going on. And I see this very wide, very long river. It wasn't quite fire, but it was like a magma, lava or something. And there's souls in it. They had no faces. They were skinny, emaciated, gray. And I knew it was people's souls, even though they didn't have faces, but there was millions upon millions as far as the eye could see down this like magma river. And they were so close together. There were so many. They were literally swimming over the top of each other, shoulder to shoulder. And the screams that I could hear were so high pitched and so many. The only thing I've ever been able to find that sounds anywhere near it on this earth is if you look up the hole to hell, whether that's real or not, I don't know. I believe it is, because the sounds that were on that recording where they stuck the microphone down in a hole where the Russians dug, you hear that screaming, and it's exactly what I heard, but I heard it in high definition, and then their microphone melted, I believe. That's the story.
I immediately closed my eyes and or whatever, and I'm immediately back in the original position, looking at the line as they're passing by. And so then I realized that, I come to know this is the section for sexual immorality, and it says in the Bible, it says they'll be given over to their flesh, but they're not having fun smoking joints, having sex and partying and having fun. This is in his mind. He's repeatedly doing what he's doing as a pedophile, and it is a torment. He cannot stop. He wants to stop. It's not because he, in the spirit world, he knows all truth too. You know what I mean? So he gets it that, God says this sin is bad. As soon as you die and you're in hell, you're like, oh, I think it's bad too. We think alike, because now, I see the truth. I get it now. So that's probably why there's nobody in hell that I saw, because I would download, I would feel what they'd feel, and I would hear their thoughts. Nobody was thinking this isn't fair.
There's a lot of things that are brutal. That's why I'm writing the book on. I can't say on here, but I'm gonna get close as I can, because it is so graphic and it is so disturbing. This part of hell, which I already knew, this section, instantly knew, this is the part for sexual, people addicted to sex, pedophilia, just anything that had to do ungodly sexual acts. Because the first thing I saw is a stone slab table, and there were multiple demons raping a young lady.
So in the realm of lust, and forgive me for those of y'all that hear this, I have to go ahead and probably take a pause, since this is going to be in the public view. Some things I have to say are graphic. I'm going to try to make it as church possible, but I'm going to help you understand the magnitude of what is going on. So if you're young ears or soft hearts, this might not be for you. The demons down there, they consistently torment. They force people to fornicate with devils until their flesh falls off. I want you to imagine fornicating against your will until the point that your flesh can no longer stay on your bones. And then when you're down to your bones, you just regenerate to experience it again and again and again and again. But there is a particularly difference between those that are tormenting to those who were receiving a specific torment. The Lord allowed me to understand the difference. You see, those that are just getting generally tormented, these were lukewarm Christians that believed that they could fornicate, that they could be in pornography, that they could be of lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and there wouldn't be a consequence. Those who raped others in this life were raped themselves. It was a consistent thing, but the demonic thing about it was they were raped by those that they raped. These demons took on this imagery, and this was their punishment forever. I wish I could say it got better, but it got worse. Those that molested children, as children, God kept them in the form as children to experience what they did to other children. So forever they were tormented in hell for the things they did in this life.
I woke up, and when I woke up, I was watching myself on the floor. And as I'm watching myself on the floor, I knew that I was awake, but then again, I knew that I was sleeping. And I couldn't really distinguish how real this was, but I was asleep, but I wanted to wake up very bad, but a large part of me wanted to stay asleep too, so I can continue in this. And I was very eager in a way, like, where am I at? And I knew that I wasn't in the earthly realm. I knew that I was transcended to another realm. And as I'm watching myself on the floor, I could see the garage at first. There was the boxes and some other things, lawnmowers and other things and bikes and whatnot. And then it kind of fizzled away, and it went from the ground up, and from the ground it turned into a cave. Like, it was earthly because it was a dirt floor, but the color was beginning to transform into this red, yellowish, brownish mix, mostly red. And it went all the way from the ground all the way up until all I could see was me on the floor asleep, until this earthly formation transformed right in front of me. And I'm looking, and my eyes are getting big because I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And once it became full, vividly colored to me, that's when I began, because there was this sense of fear that started to come over me, because I went from curiosity to fear. And when this part came over me, I instantly was grabbed by the sense of fear that I can't tell you how dreadful it was.
Still want to say there is no God, there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no afterlife? Really?
I saw one of the openings from earth going into hell. I saw a door open up. I saw a blade like a big caterpillar tractor, like an earth mover blade. And it pushed about 60 or 65 people into hell. And then the door slammed shut. The door was bigger. I knew that you couldn't drive a tank through it. It was, when it slammed shut, it was locked. And then there was a slippery, slimy green slope. So slimy that I knew that if you had the claws like a bear, you could not stop yourself from sliding down. It was a dark cavern inside the earth, dark. And this is only a small part, but it was a pool, and it was boiling, and it was urine and feces.
Yes.
You've seen something like that? It was sewers. It was a sewer. You've seen that?
Yes.
Okay, it was boiling.
Yes.
It was about as big as this room, and it was urine and feces boiling, and there were souls in there bobbing up and down, and they would go down. Then you'd see a hand come up, and it was tumultuous as it was boiling, and it was thick, like you boil syrup, and the bubbles come up slow, like water boils fast, but this was boiling. You'd see a slow a bubble as it was boiling, and a soul would come up screaming, ah! They'd go back under.
There are people who distribute this pornographic content on internet, sometimes physical. There are people who are hired to be porn artists. The Lord takes this sin very, very seriously because it's a defilement of the body. And he takes it seriously so that the people are punished at the very farthest ends of hell, if I can say that, where there is absolute and total darkness. And I'll explain in a while what happens to these people. The word of God in 1 Corinthians 6, 9, and 10 tells us, do you not know the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Neither the sexually immoral. Imagine, if you are sexually immoral, the Lord says that you cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So what happens to these people? I saw that every time they arrive in hell, there is a boat. There is a boat that comes to pick them. So they think they are going on a boat ride. Once they get into this boat, the boat starts off paddling. And as they go deeper and deeper into this place where, this body of water, it begins to become sewage. I don't know whether you understand sewage, that wastewater. So sewage, the whole body of water becomes like a sewage. So these guys are in this boat, it starts to leak. And the sewer water is coming through the boat. And just when they're in the middle of this lake, the sewer lake, when they're in the middle of this sewage, they are thrown in and they start drowning there. They are not drowning in water, but they are drowning in sewage. And that is their torment. They keep trying to come up for air, but in hell, all they are breathing, drowning on is sewage water. It is a terrible, terrible torment. But the Lord was telling me it's because what they do is vile. Just like sewage is vile, that is the same torment. They are punished through a very vile punishment. They are in sewer water. They drown in sewage water all their life. In eternity, can I even say life? There is no life once you go to hell. It's in eternity of torment and torture. That is what happens to people who practice pornography.
It was like when I was in hell, I could hear her, oh, Lisa, I wish you would listen and just come back to Jesus. And that's when all of a sudden I said, I wish I would have listened. And all of a sudden my body set on fire, my soul set on fire. And when my soul set on fire, it was so much hotter. Because I used to have problems like cutting and burning myself because I hated myself. I know burns and stuff, and there is nothing like your soul being on fire. It hurts so bad. Like it's not, you can't even explain it. You can't even explain it. There is no way to explain the torture. Like I could hear myself screaming in my head. The thoughts were like if you put some headphones on or whatever in your ears and you were to like scream as loud as you can, it's like a billion times louder than that is what your thoughts. You're alone in your thoughts. You're alone in your sins. It's replaying over and over on top of fear, on top of hopelessness, on top of fire, hotter than you can ever imagine. I wouldn't wish hell on my worst enemy. That's what I'm trying. That's the whole reason why I'm trying to tell this world.
I thought that was the judgment. That didn't feel like a dream. I could feel, I could taste, I could tell you how it made me feel. Everything was so alive in the dream. And at that moment, I was asking God, why did you give me this dream? He said, because I want you to warn my people that the things which you saw are the things that shall be. And I didn't realize that what I prayed for and the vow I made before God, that he was going to fulfill it. Now he's looking for my end to be fulfilled. So that's why I'm here talking to you right now. Forgive. Let go. I couldn't describe how many people that allow for unforgiveness to grow in them, and it caused a bitterness, which caused them to do things that they got judged for. That thing caused them not to make it to heaven.
So I screamed, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and I kept on screaming that, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I kept on screaming it faster, more and more because I was so desperate. I had to get out of this situation. And right away, my soul told me, it's not true. You're going to hell for eternity. It's not true. So I'm like, what do you mean it's not true? What do you mean? What's not true? What's not true? And while I'm not saying this in voice, and this is going through my mind. A million things are going through my mind. My whole life and everything's going through my mind. What do you mean? What's going on here? You know? Am I missing anything? What am I missing? Am I missing to say anything? What am I missing here? And I'm still screaming, Allahu Akbar, Allah, please, Ya Allahu Akbar, which means God's the greatest. And the Shahada, when Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, means I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So I screamed Allahu Akbar about 10 times, screaming, nothing happened. My soul told me that you're going out for eternity. So right when I felt the hopelessness, the hopeless, this is the word that will never, the most important word in my life is hope. Because when you feel the hopelessness in the afterlife compared to a hopelessness that you feel on earth, is I don't even let nothing get to me anymore. Nothing worries me no more. The hopelessness feeling is worse than being in hell itself, because knowing that because the only last hope you have is God. And once you know that he is separated from you and he does not hear you, because he didn't hear me. And that hopeless feeling, I don't wish I'm the worst person in the world. That's how bad this is the hopelessness is just unbearable. Nobody can ever be able to handle the feeling of detachment from God, the feeling that God does not hear you and he will never ever hear you or help you once you're done.
And I saw the faces of all the people falling into hell. I saw in the experience, you can know everybody's thoughts. In the spirit, you know all their thoughts and you know what they're thinking, everything. So as they were sliding down, I could understand 60 people's thoughts all in 1 second. I knew what they were thinking. Every single one of them, not one of them thought before they died, when I die, I'm going to hell. They all thought they were safe. Everyone thought they were safe before they died. When the door slammed shut, I saw also the horror on their face. All of them received the instant revelation, you're damned forever. You are damned forever and you'll never get out. That realization pierced all of them. As they all fell into the boiling thing, they all had deep regret and they were screaming and howling. Oh, what have we done with our life? What have we done? What have we done? What have we done? We can't get out. I watched them all go in. And I don't know if you remember, but the day before, right in our own valley, one of the people, I was made to know who he was. There was a kidnapping in Quartz Hill. In 2002, do you guys remember this? Kidnapped 2 girls. And he took them out and he drove them out to the desert near Boron, I think, or somewhere out there. And the sniper shot him. Remember that? they killed him. I saw him going into hell. I saw him. Actually, I saw him bobbing in the thing. So when I woke up, I was traumatized. I remember my heart was beating like this. And I was sweating and I was all traumatized. I said, oh my God.
The screams and the moaning that I heard can't even really describe how I felt. I was just sitting on my parents' couch. Immediately after, I go to hell. And I ended up, what I can describe to you is an underground tunnel, completely dark. And I'm looking around, not understanding where I'm at first. But then I began to realize where I was. I was in hell. I want to tell you something today, that when you die outside of the will of God, you know, you're fully conscious that you are in hell. Don't let people lie to you. Hell is real. And you are able to hear the moaning, the groaning, the whips, the beating, the shouting, the terror that was happening down below, while everyone is up above on earth, living life down there with demons, with other souls. And I'm standing in a hallway. Now, both sides of this hallway had black brick walls. Everything was black. The ceiling was black. The ground was like black, but it was like ashes. Black ashes, like sand on the ground beneath my feet. Now, mind you, I'm trying to figure out how can I get out of this situation. You can't call on the name of God because I tried. Jesus. God? Anybody there? Hello? Nothing. I'm standing there, scared.
It was so real, but I was in hell. The best way I know how to describe it is sadness. It's a sorrow that you would never ever want to feel. It feels like you are drowning with all your emotions. It feels like you're underwater. And you know, right when you get out of breath and you try to come back up, that's the feeling you feel in hell. It's dark. All I remember is darkness. Every now and then I would get a glimpse of something brown, look like a wall, look like cement. It could have been wood. I heard screaming. These screams were so unbearable. It was so unbearable. And it was just so awful. I heard this scratching. It just the screams and just the sadness and the grief. Listen, I was going to hell. I was not going to heaven. See, I knew God, but I didn't know God in my spirit. If someone would have asked me if I was going to heaven or hell if I died, I would have said heaven, but I wasn't going to heaven. Deep down in my heart, I was going to hell. And I felt like God showed me that to wake me up.
And the Lord told me the abyss was worse than where we were walking, because demons would come up every so many holes, and they would beat them with kind of clubs and stab them, and then more fire would come on them. And they would cry and say, stop, stop. And they seemed to me like they were reaping the sins of their flesh on the earth. And the Lord knew my thoughts. He said, this is exactly what's happening. He said, child, this is the torment for adulteresses and fornicators and some backsliding ministers. And he said, we're going to go through the left leg, and then we're going to go to the belly. And then he said, we're going to go to the jaws and one of the arms of hell. And he said, there's demons all through here, but because of me and my power, I protect you. Is what he told me. And I went with the Lord high into the sky. And when we got so high up, there was the world far below, no bigger than a basketball. And then out of the earth came these round brown things that looked like tornadoes. These were like turning real slow and back again. And I said, Lord, what are those? He said, those are gateways into hell. He said, we shall go down a gateway. And he said to me, he said, child, Look at my left hand. And he had a ring of keys. These keys, he said, are of death and hell. I can go down here anytime I choose.
And I can't explain it how I know it. Like as soon as you go there, you kind of can read other people's thoughts, other people's sins. So what's interesting was in hell, and I saw some other hell testimonies, they explain the same way. In hell, if you see a person being tortured, you can look at him and I right away know what he has done. If I can explain it in an earthly language, we're all part of God. That whole spiritual realm is God. So and you know how in the Bible we're called children of God? Guess what happens? When you go there, you become immediately like a piece of God and you get this little piece of intellect. And that way, you know how God knows everything what's happening on earth. He knows every second what the person thinks, what his intent behind his actions. I guess you get the same ability, like as soon as you go there, you know everything. If you see a million people being tortured, I can know all their sins, all their life, how they live their life, why they're being tortured, why they end up in hell, how they were blaspheming God within seconds, and like without even trying. I just like download this knowledge. And what's funny, the second you download the knowledge, you somehow know it's truth. It's like there is no like justification. There is no, I can explain, let me explain myself. I didn't mean it. No, it's just like you know it's the truth and it's the fact. That's another thing, also very interesting thing.
I was in the darkness, but this time it was hot. It was boiling hot. I was burning up in this darkness. And then that fireman walked up in the middle of the darkness and he said, "You have not heard, nor have you listened to any warning I've given you. Do you know where you are?" I said, "I have no idea where I am." He said, "This is the place you shall visit for your disobedience." He said, "Ryan, is there a fire?" And I said, "No, I don't see any." I said, "I just feel the heat." He said, "Let me help you." Boom. Got to watch the darkness light up. And what was underneath me was, it was a fire like we've never seen here on earth. You see, everybody perceives hell. And that picture I sent you the other day is pretty accurate, but the only difference is it's not orange, yellow flame like we see in this life. It's the hottest flame reserved for the devil. It's blue. You're burning up in God's fury. That eternal flame is there to torment you day and night, night and day. It is like when you look into a natural gas heater. It's about like that.
I wouldn't wish hell on my worst enemy. And that's what I'm trying. That's the whole reason why I'm trying to tell the world. Is because there is truly a hell. And it's so horrible. And I don't want anyone to go if you don't believe in God. Oh, please ask Jesus into your heart and save you. If you do know God, repent right now. Ask for forgiveness. You never know when you're gonna die. You never know when Jesus is gonna come. You never know. And it was then that it got hotter and hotter and hotter, and I like my teeth were just gnashing. They were gnashing, and I could feel like my teeth just breaking over and over. And your jaw's locked, and you're screaming in your mind. There's no water. There's no water. You feel as if your mouth is dry or your soul's dry. Your soul's so dry. If only I just had a drop of water. If only I just had a drop of water on my tongue, I would feel some kind of relief. It was then that all of a sudden the screaming continued. There's just constant crying, constant misery. You think about the time you've cried, like the worst pain you've ever felt in your heart, like emotional pain. You're crying and heaving, 1 billion times worse. And when I say 1 billion times worse, I really mean it's 1 billion times worse than any negative thing. Every negative thing you've ever felt in your whole life, you will feel in hell. And you will feel it 1 billion times, and you will feel it forever and ever. and ever and ever and ever. As I was screaming, as I was gnashing my teeth, as I was wishing, the fear, the hope, hopelessness, everything, all of a sudden, I was just like, Jesus, 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 help me, Jesus, Jesus, save me. As I cried out to Jesus, immediately I was ripped from those flames.
And I'm seeing all these things and I'm asking myself, Lord, why don't these people have faces? And he didn't answer me right then. And I'm seeing these people looking for a way out. They're crying, they're crawling, they're screaming. And it was just, I don't know how long I was there, but I'm seeing that. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel heat, nothing like that. It was just like I was just watching, I was observing. And finally, I come back to my body and I just cry. I weep, I cry because he answered my prayer exactly. And he allowed me to feel, this was the only thing I could feel. He allowed me to feel the love that he had for each person that didn't accept him and went to hell. And that's all I could feel. And it tore me up, and it still makes me a little emotional now. I could still hear the screams now. I still see it like it was yesterday, like it just happened. And I just sat on the couch for 3-4 hours and I cried because I felt that love for those people. And it's like, all those souls, it was so painful in your heart. And I know how it grieves him now.
I looked at this lake of fire.
Sorry. It's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
I looked at the first stage of fire. It was like there was something giving life to it. It's like it had a pillar, but a pillar in form of a nose. It's like there was thick, dark smoke coming from this pillar, but all the way into that lake, from the nose into the lake, I was seeing thick, dark smoke, and I was also seeing like the way you can see, like, I don't know how to explain, but it's fire but dark. It has no color. It's fire but dark. Like how you can see somebody pouring dark liquid, but this dark liquid is hot. And I was thirsty. In hell, there is no water.
True.
And I wanted, even if it was a drop of water, I had no access to any water. I cried until I felt like now I'm not crying anymore. No tears can come. It's just sweat until I feel like now I'm so dry. I don't have anything in me to give me life.
This noise started to gradually pick up, and it was like a light scream of terror that entered. And then it raised a little bit more, and the scream of terror and pain was entering my body. I could feel the screams. I could feel the yells, the cries. Was so overwhelming. I wanted to cry, but I was too scared. I had so much fear inside of me to where I couldn't cry. And something was trying to tell me to get up, but this fear that was overwhelming, that gripped me so tightly, because along with that, the atmosphere of the color of the darkness had seeped into my spirit to where I knew that this place was eternal and God was not there, and I was never leaving.
Maybe you have come across somebody who doesn't believe in your faith. They think you're very, you're very confused. They can even abuse you, call you names. I see a lot of that, when people are trying to evangelize in the streets. People come up to them, spit at them, call them names. They don't believe in God. They yell. They do all manner of things, especially when the word of God is being preached. And this is the torment I saw for people who mock God. I found that they have been hung on a tree in hell, like the way Jesus died. A tree, if I call it a tree or a cross, Jesus was hung on a cross. So in hell there's a cross which mirrors the cross of Christ. And upon this cross, somebody who was a mocker is hung on this cross. And this is what I noticed. When somebody is hung on the cross, it means that they mocked the gospel. Because the gospel of Jesus Christ is the cross. Mark 8 tells us that he summoned the multitude with his disciples and he said to them, whoever wishes to come to me, let him deny himself, take up my cross and follow me. So the physical cross where Jesus died is a representation of salvation. So in hell, if you're a mocker, they hang you on the cross because you denied Christ. And what happens is that demons, they practice throwing sharp objects on that person who is hung on the cross. It's like they're trying to play darts, that game of darts. So you'll find that today this person can be told, we are practicing javelin, how to throw a javelin. So they'll throw a javelin on any part of his body. It doesn't matter the eyes, anywhere that javelin can hit. So many demons are throwing a javelin at this person.
Still want to act like God is a myth? Still want to keep saying that there is no God all the way till the end of your life? You sure about that?
It's a very, very hopeless, situation that I saw. It's like, okay, this is it. I'm going to live this life, people there, it's like, okay, they're going to live that life and there's no turning back, there's no running away. You are there, you are there. And then the other sin that I saw now was the sexual immorality part of it. People are having, the souls again, a man, the man, a woman and a woman, and, a man and a female as well, but their private parts, they're not normal.
So this is
natural.
homosexuality.
Yes, I saw, homosexual couples and I saw heterosexual couples as well, but they were doing immoral sexual acts, in a very, very, very immoral way. All these different kinds of immorality that you can think of. I saw it. And these people are forced to do it. It's like they don't have a choice but to keep doing it. And they're in agony, they're screaming, they want to stop. You want to opt out. It's like, hey, I'm done now. Can I just take a break? You can't.
Sorry, when you see these people, number one, you saw people with bottles, they're drinking like some sort of like lava. And then number two, you saw people practicing homosexuality. Were these people happy enjoying it or were they screaming, crying?
They were crying, they were in agony, my brother. They wanted to stop. They wanted to stop, but they couldn't. No matter, how much we can try to run away, it's like something is pulling them back. Carry on. This is what you used to do. Do it now. Now you are free to do things that you. So at a later stage, now that I'm born again, now that, I'm in Christ and I'm reading the Bible, I understood that grace and mercy is here on earth. So when God says, repent now, us beg for mercy now, it's here. On the other side, there's no time, for me to go pray and ask for forgiveness. It ends here. And what I also learned is that the very same practices that God is telling us to stop doing. Here on earth, I have a choice. I can drink and later on, I'm fine, I don't want to drink anymore. Because now I've got the power now, through the grace of God, I can pray. God help me. I don't want to drink anymore. But I saw that in hell, you are forced. The very same thing that God is telling us to stop doing. That side you are doing it, now you don't have a choice. I don't, there's no repentance. Hey, I'm done, God, I'm sorry. You are doing the very same, it's like how I'm living now, physically. In the spirit as well. It's like it's already linked. In other words, it's like it's not going to be a surprise for me if I die today. It won't be a surprise because, okay, now I'm in heaven or I'm in hell. In other words, how I'm living my life now already, it's like I'm writing my own story. God, do I want to follow God? Or do I want to follow my own senses? Do I want to do the things that God is telling me? Don't do it. I've given you the power. Here on earth, you've got the power
to stop. You've got all the time, you've got all the mercy and grace is available for us to stop and to live, better life. But once you are dead.
And I want to say that I saw a punishment of people who practice homosexuality. The people who do that, this is a more elaborate vision. This is what I saw happen. They are also put in cages in hell. They are put in cages, and what happens is that the men are in one cage, the other men are in the other cage, and they are facing one another. As they face one another, I realized these are partners. They are actually facing one another. So this cage is one partner, the other cage opposite is another partner. But I realized, and this is what the Lord made me to understand, is if this person feels like a man, but they are not a man, there is a demon that is in them that makes them feel truly like a man. If there is a man who feels like a woman, there is a demon that really is feminist, and it makes that person feel feminine, like a woman. So the Lord was telling me these feelings are real because it's a demon attack. So if I am attracted to you and you're a woman, and you're attracted to me and you're a woman, the attractions are real. Because if you're attracted to me and I behave like a man, then I have that male demon that is in me that makes me to be attracted to me. So the Lord was telling me it's an exchange. It's an exchange so that I feel truly like a man, although I am not, or another feels like a woman if they know they are not. So that now facing each other in these cages in hell, you are told, like you're told here on earth, today is the day of coming out. So when you come out, you will see the demon that possessed you to feel like a female. You will also see the demon that possessed you to feel like a man. And you're told to have a sexual encounter with these demons. And that sexual encounter is not pleasurable. And if you're a lady, they put all manner of objects in your sexual parts. They can put broken bottles, they can put knives, that is what the sexual act becomes. If you're a man, they will do the same. They put all manner of sexual objects in you, and they are sharp objects that really, it is such painful experience and encounter. But the bigger torment is to realize that it was not a real attraction. There was a force behind this attraction. There was an entity behind this attraction, and you can now see the entity. And the entity is mocking you, laughing at you, and telling you it is the one which was having sex with the other person.
This rock tomb that I was encased in, there were bodies. These are all souls that were encased in this tomb. Inside of this tomb was the tomb of hell. And the bodies were forever. They would not, the count, I cannot count how many there were inside of that tomb that day. These screams that came from the individuals that were in there were absolutely horrific. That kind of cry and that sound we won't witness here. This fear was indescribable because I was encased by this horrible energy that took me completely by storm. And the worst thing that I could truly say was that beyond hearing the cries and beyond hearing the yells and the screams, I don't know if nobody can really understand, but I was without the presence of God. I can't stress that enough, my people. I can't stress to you that enough of being without the presence of Jesus Christ.
The moment we exited that river on the other side, the world was gray. The world was becoming more void of light. So imagine the life we have right now without color. And the further you walk, the darker it gets. This is our way through. If you're looking at Dante, he calls it limbo. I nicknamed it the gray world because that's exactly all you see. It is this life void of life. And the further you walk away from that river, void of light as well. The lack of God's presence is light. I want people to understand something. Everyone who's against God, Satanists, those in the occult, those who are just atheists, those who are even agnostic, those who follow other gods, I need you to understand something. When you wake up every morning to the sunlight, you're waking up to his presence. When you wake up to that wind blowing on your face, you're waking up to his presence. There's no wind. There's no wind where we're going in this story. There's no sunlight. There's only pain, and there's suffering. The further you walk through this darkness, the more you feel that you deserve it. The more you're being told and hear that you have walked away from God. And everything that's about to happen, you deserve it all.
And what right away, what I noticed, there was no color. Like always, like I say, every time you go to hell, it's like lacking color. It's like black and white. That's a little detail. Hey, like if you think like someone lies about the hell, if the person decides to lie about hell, he wouldn't like create such a small detail that there is no color unless you've been there. So I appeared on that street, and what I want you to understand, that spiritual realm, it's very personal. So the whole hell visit was adjusted for me, just to see hell according to my childhood. So if you're committing certain sins, you're gonna go there. Whatever you were afraid of, that's how you're going to be tortured. Whatever you were scared of, that's how you personally going to be tortured. It's like that spiritual realm is really personal. So if you were afraid of spiders, you'll be tortured by spiders crawling all over you. If another person were afraid of scorpions, he'll be tortured by scorpions. That's what's kind of interesting about hell.
They tormented them with what was in the food. Everything you feared in this life. Some of them, they put it in the food. There were some people, as they bit the food, fire ants would come out. Others, spiders would come out. Scorpions would come out. Each torment was customized to the individual for the highest output of torment and torture. And then the messenger said to me, "Do you understand what's going on in this level?" And I said, "I do." And he said, "Then it's time to move on. Your time is short."
People just don't know how real hell is. Listen, hell is real. It's real. Listen, I'm telling you, it's real. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. The sadness that you feel down there, it's real. It's real. It's real. I don't want nobody to experience that. Listen, we ain't promised every day. Over 100,000 people die every day. That person could be you today, tomorrow, the next day. If you died right now, ask yourself, are you going to heaven or hell? And don't lie. Look at yourself in the mirror by the way you are living and ask yourself, are you going to heaven or are you going to hell?
Everything got so dark, but it wasn't an ordinary darkness. Like it was, this darkness was like, the best way I can describe it, it was alive. It was a darkness that was so dark. Like I said, you can blindfold yourself, bury yourself, blindfold yourself again, put yourself in a tomb, put that tomb somewhere under the ground, and it still doesn't describe this darkness. It had a
Mhm.
spiritual component to this. It wasn't a regular darkness. It was
Wow.
through me, in me, and it was a sadness. It was beyond description. Now, the weird part is because I was laying on my back, but I was falling forward. I was falling forward, but I knew I fell back, but yet I was falling down face forward, but yet on my back, looking up. See, that's the weird part. It's hard to even describe. I was laying on my back, but yet I was falling down. But as I'm falling down, it is so fast. It's like the fastest, like I say, it's faster than the speed of light. It's a different type of speed, you know, like they say, I said it was 186,000 miles in a second. It's faster than that. It's a different form of speed. You are, when I'm talking about the spiritual side, everything is maximized, but it's so different times a million. You don't lose your senses. You can see better, hear better, smell better, taste everything. Your functions and your senses are heightened beyond description here, like when you're in the spiritual realm. So as I'm falling down in this darkness, and see, you guys don't understand how much God loves us, okay, on a daily basis. I realize that we're all protected daily, okay? We're buffered from so many things he's keeping us from every single day, okay? And what I mean by that, because as I was falling, the terror that I felt, I had no limit. There were no limits to this terror. There's no limits to this. See, here we can, you know, either you have a traumatic experience that's so bad that you will faint. It's like a safety mechanism, right? You physically, you'll kind of pass out so you won't, you know, be too overwhelmed. Or it's only a fear that gets capped off. It has a limit here. There's only so much you can get afraid here on earth. But that place where I was falling to, the fear is maximizing and maximizing as I'm falling. All the attributes, and I knew these things. I knew everything. It was like everything, the attributes of God that are in us were leaving me.
Like, I'd rather endure the hardest thing on earth, like, you know, get tortured or go to an island by myself and, you know, with no food, than to go to hell, where the spiritual, emotional, physical pain is indescribable. It's undescribable. It's something that no human being should experience. I felt it was like, yeah, very painful.
What else did you see there? So you did you say you felt like a chain was going through your body?
Yeah, I look at my body and like, it's not normal. It's ripped up. Everywhere there's rocks. There's no water. There's no plants. I'm standing on like barren, like rocks. Like, you can't even describe it. And I look to the left and there's like cliffs. There's like rocky red cliffs. I look to the right and it's just people. And the fact that I knew it was hell was even weird, because I didn't even believe in a hell as a Buddhist. So, but I supernaturally knew that it was where people go that are bad, and I knew I deserved to be there.
And now, these rocks, how can I explain the rocks? Huge. And below the rocks, it's like there is dust. How you can see a heap of dust. And it's like somebody has melted metal and it is red hot. And it's just flowing. And this is a lake of fire. You cannot see its end. You can see the beginning, but you cannot see the end.
You know, the Bible scripture that says, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Now, mind you, I knew hell was real. But see, in the moment of sin, you're not thinking about the consequences that are to come because of your lack of obedience, lack of self-control. See, these are fruits of the Spirit. Self-control, resisting temptation. And my appetite was lust. While I'm down there, I look to my right. And to my right, I see these bodies with no heads. Now, at first, they were black pipes piled up. And I kind of looked at it and said, that's a little strange. And the moment I gave attention to what I was looking at, they began to stand up and began to form men and women's bodies with no head. And I'm like, what am I looking at? Now, the revelation the Lord gave me recently, about a year and a half or so ago, was that those bodies are an example of the sins his children are committing upon this earth. Not just me, but everyone. He said, daughter, when you lay with someone, you lay with everyone else they laid with in the spirit. So though you may have laid with one person, and they may have laid with 50 people, you have now laid with 51 other individuals by way of the spirit. Soul ties. covenants. I was shocked. They began to grab at me.
As I'm going forward, something caught my attention. My arms were straight out. And another thing that caught my attention was that I wasn't walking. I was gliding. And as I'm gliding, I had these chains on me. Chain with the ball on the end. They were so heavy, I wanted to put my hands down, but I just couldn't. I was taking that pain. And I remember seeing these demons, and I kept saying, where am I? Let me go. They wouldn't say nothing to me, but they'll look at me, and they'll laugh. They were giggling. That's all they did. And I can see them. They had real long fingernails, real powerful, sharp nails, like razors. But they wouldn't respond to me. They were just giggling at me, laughing at me.
Hell is real. Hell is a real place. It's a place that after death, a sinner is confined to hell. Hell is a real place. I cannot stress that. Hell is a real place. Many of you probably seen testimonies. You've probably seen people go deep in depth. I wasn't given that. I praise God that I wasn't given that opportunity to go on an adventure in hell like some of you guys did. But just standing outside of hell, it was enough for me. It took me weeks before I finally started to discuss this with even my little brother who was in the same room with me on a different bed. Before I started explaining that to him. And even after you have an experience with hell, if you anyone that has an experience with hell, you know that it's something sort of you want to brush off your shoulder. It's not something you really want to talk about. But this is something that really happened, and it shocked me. It made me realize that this is a lost and a dying world, and that people are plummeting into hell right now.
This was one of the most supernatural things that ever happened to me. I remember one night I went to sleep, and it was actually a Good Friday. I remember it was Good Friday of this year. And as I went to sleep, I have this dream where I'm driving my car. And as I'm driving my car, I get into a car accident, right? So as I get into this car accident, it's kind of like a shift. It's kind of like a movie. Like, you know, like a movie, like shift scenes.
Yeah.
So it switches, it shifts scenes. And now after this car accident, I'm in the hospital with my family. And as I'm in the hospital with my family, mind you, I'm sleeping while this is happening. My spirit comes out of my body. And as my spirit comes out of my body in the hospital, I'm aware that I'm still alive. I'm aware that I'm still me, but now I'm not in my body. And as my spirit comes in my body, I feel this magnet, this power pull me down. So I begin to go down, and I just begin falling through this like dark, the only way I can really describe it is a dark vortex. Imagine kind of like skydiving at nighttime without the fun. That's like the only way I can really describe this. And I start falling through this dark vortex, and boom, I land in hell. And I know exactly where I am. I haven't known where I am. And in this encounter, I see these people in hell, and I have an understanding. It's kind of just like a knowing that these people aren't actual people. These people represent demonic forces. So as all this is happening to me, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this is actually happening to me. So as this is happening to me, I wake up in the dream. So this is something that the Lord, and I know your head just turned. This is something that the Lord will do a lot of times in these encounters to show me that it's not just me, that these are really from him. I wake up in the dream, yet I'm still dreaming. And as I'm dreaming in this dream, I tell my family, guys, I just had a dream. Mind you, I'm still dreaming. I had this dream where I went to hell. This place is real. God just took me to hell. And when I tell them, they just have this like look on their face like, oh my goodness, like this happened to you? So after that happens, I actually physically wake up. And when I wake up, the first thing I do, because in this dream I was talking to my mom, the first thing I do is I pick up my phone and I call my mom, and she answers on the first ring, which is, that in itself is just really I knew it was God, because it was like a randomly in the middle of the night, like she shouldn't even be awake, but she answers the phone on the first ring, and I tell her, mom, I just had this encounter where the Lord just took me to hell. And at this moment, I just break down. I start crying and crying and crying. And there's just so much weight that I'm feeling. And I'm just asking God, like, God, why did you show me this? And all of a sudden he reminds me, you prayed for this. And I remember before I even prayed for this, I told the Lord, I said, Lord, if you do something like this, I promise that I would tell every single person that I know that this place is real.
I look up into the sky. And I begin to descend. Now, granted, nothing's moving around me. I'm looking at the sky. The sky seems to be pulling away from me, and I am getting the feeling that I'm sinking down. I'm sinking down. It's the best way I can explain it. Every centimeter that I sink, my knowledge of God, of His grace in the atmosphere, it leaves my understanding. You know the part in Romans chapter 1 where God says, in so many words, everyone will be held accountable for believing in God, even those who say they don't believe. We all believe in God, and we're all going to be accountable for that, because the knowledge of God and His surrounding grace that I didn't know that I had began to leave my understanding. I'm trying to explain this as best that I can. It began to leave my understanding, and what was replaced with the grace of God, the atmospheric peace and the balance, and my knowledge of His goodness, terror. Now, it was at this moment that I realized something very important about human thought and understanding. There's a language that exists, and this may be an obvious thing. There's a language that exists that we don't have the access to. There are extremes that can be articulated with words, but we don't have access to those words yet. Because when I say terror, you think, okay, well, you know, I've seen scary movies. Maybe I've even had a brush with death. Maybe I've been in a car accident. You know, maybe I've broken something or seen something gruesome in reality. Maybe I've seen somebody in an accident and seen somebody mangled, and you associate that with terror, right? And fairly so. Our understanding of terror is within the scope of our experiences and reality here on earth as human beings. Okay. But when I say terror, understand that the terror that we understand to be synonymous with the best day at Disneyland, or whatever is just your idea of just the most childlike, innocent fun. I don't know. Just the greatest time you've ever had with friends. I don't know. Family. Make that synonymous with the terror we understand, compared to the terror that I was surrounded with as my understanding of God pulled away from me. I didn't know that as I moved on through the space and time of His dimensions that He set up, that His grace is it's in the air, it's in the atmosphere, it makes things feel balanced. Because when it left me, the balance left, and it was replaced with chaos. And let me tell you something. I would have slit my mother's throat in order to escape or to find comfort in that chaos.
I knew that I knew there's nothing to learn. There was nothing to learn. There was nothing to figure out. There was no time. It's hard to even explain that. But I heard all these screams, and they were getting louder, just like as the light was getting bigger and bigger. These screams, but I instantly knew there had to be billions, hundreds of millions, maybe billions. But these screams are all, some were cursing out God, some were just in agony, the pain, some were making sounds that I can't even mimic. But the thing is, the weirdest part is, when I was hearing these things, they were all screaming, but yet I can individualize each scream.
And as I'm flying through this tunnel, the first thing I noticed is people just chained on both sides. And let's say I'm going a million miles an hour. There's 2 people on each side every 3 feet. So you're talking about 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion people as I'm, just real quick flying through a lot of people. And without even trying, I download every single person's thoughts, feelings, who they are. I download their entire file of who they are. So I know them as good as anybody has ever known them, maybe better. Just like that. And a million billion of them I could do every second would be no problem. It was trippy. So all information is just coming in left and right from and basically the section that I'm in is these people are they're basically like, let me out, I'm a Christian. They're just in disbelief, but they know it's true. But it's like they thought they were good to go. They thought they were Christians. They thought that they were going to go to heaven when they died. So to their surprise, they're stuck in hell, never getting out.
not even a chance of ever getting out, and they're just absolutely horrified.
You know, even though I saw all those people in the pit literally burning through the flames, but you're kept at a distance, so you never have any conversation. You're isolated and alone for all eternity. That alone is enough to bear. And you have no purpose, no destiny. It's just a complete useless wasting away. But Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in Sheol. Just a waste. Ecclesiastes 6:4 says your name's covered in darkness, so it doesn't matter if you're somebody famous here. No one would know who you are there. You have no identity. You understand you're not getting out. Job 7:9 says, he that goes down to Sheol shall come up no more. You have that understanding. No one's going to come rescue you. And the stench in hell is so foul and putrid, the worst odors you can ever imagine, worse than any open sewer. Anything you can imagine, take it times 1,000. And remember, Jesus rebuked the foul spirits, Mark 9:25. Demons have a disgusting foul odor to them. Also the smell of burning flesh and the smell of burning sulfur. And if you ever go to Hawaii, to the volcanoes, the volcano there, they have signs posted where you cannot go past a certain point because the toxicity of the burning sulfur coming up, it will kill you if you breathe it. It's called sulfur dioxide. Well, sulfur is just another word for brimstone. And the word brimstone is all through the Bible. So you're breathing in this foul, putrid, disgusting air that you don't want to breathe. But it's even worse than that because there's not enough air to breathe. You have to fight for even the tiniest bit of oxygen. And this is how you breathe in hell. It's like, that was as much air as you could get. Well, that's not enough to live. You feel like any moment you're going to die of suffocation. But see, Isaiah 42:5 says, the Lord gives breath to the people upon the earth. You're not upon the earth, you're down deep beneath the earth. God's very specific with his word. You need to sleep in hell. I was only there 23 minutes, but I felt like I was there 23 weeks without sleeping. You know, if you stay up for 2 nights without sleeping, you're pretty much a wreck, right? You can't function. Well, in hell, you need to sleep also. But you never get to sleep, so it gets progressively worse. But see, Revelation 14:11 says, and the smoke of their torment ascends up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night. Now that primarily means no rest from the torment, but no rest of any kind, because Isaiah 57:20 says the wicked are like the troubled sea that cannot rest. You know, the sea's always moving. But see, rest is a blessing from God. Psalms 127:2 said the Lord gives his beloved sleep. You're not his beloved, so you don't derive that benefit of sleep. And I was standing next to this pit of fire. Demons were shoving people back in. People were burning. You're totally helpless. You can't fight them off. They have great strength, and you don't. And I was standing beneath this tunnel, and all along the cavern walls were demons lined all along the walls. Twisted, deformed, grotesque. Some were only 2 and 3 feet tall. Some were 12 and 13 feet tall. And there were snakes all along the edges. I could only see along the edges and through the flames. It's so dark in hell, it consumes the light. It draws in the light, but I could see along the edges, and I was standing on a bed of maggots, solid maggots crawling all over everything. But remember, Jesus said, where their worm dies not, he used the word maggot. And he said, their worm, you have your own personal maggots people have crawling all over them. I know this is disgusting, but I just want you to get this picture so you understand and have the heart desire to want to witness to people and not see anybody go to this place. See, Isaiah 14:11 says, where the maggot will be spread under thee and the worm will cover thee.
And the other thing that shocked me from this fire, I feared maggots from childhood and caterpillars and roaches. In this fire, I was seeing huge maggots. Huge maggots. One maggot that can enter into a body and consume it within seconds. You see how maggots feed on decayed things?
Yeah.
And there are many. You find thousands of maggots in a cow or something that has decayed. This time, there in hell, they didn't, the way it's designed, one maggot is enough to do all the work that thousands of maggots can do here. And then, here, the maggots die when you burn them. There, it's like they feed on fire. They grow in the fire. They are huge beyond the normal maggots that we know. The caterpillars there, they are so huge that you can't even believe. If you saw one and started screaming, what about there? In hell, where there's no coming back if you went, and a person is going to be sentenced to that fire. Those maggots and caterpillars and roaches are not there for design or decoration. They are there to torment. They are there to torment. Satan who doesn't want to perish alone. He wants to go with the children of God because he knows it grieves God's heart to see that his children are perishing with the enemy. He did not design the lake of fire for us. But Satan doesn't want to go alone. So he wants to go with as many people as possible.
I closed my eyes. There was no introduction. There was no warning. There was no nothing. Instantly, I was engulfed in flames. And they were coming across from my right to my left and absolutely consuming me. Before I had a chance to think, I was instantly in absolute chaos. And the pain, that's another thing I want to share. In your dreams, you don't feel pain like what I was feeling, because it's a pain beyond physicality. The pain I was feeling in that moment, if I had been feeling that here in this physical body, my brain would have shut down because it would have been on overload. The pain that encompassed me and consumed me was so horrendous. I instantly began screaming, and I'm talking screaming. There's only a couple times, and this is one of them, I have to be graphic because the severity of hell and the horrors of hell, you are the only way I could describe this screaming. You have to understand, I'm a man, right? I'm a man. Like, I didn't cry out like a man. I didn't wail like a man. The pain had me so bad. My head went up and I began screaming like a woman who was being tortured. And I'm sorry, but that is the only possible way to describe it. Anything else, I would be undercutting it. I was screaming like that. And it was a torrent of flames. And the flames, to my understanding, they kind of change colors the hotter they get. It could be a dark red and orange. These flames were so hot that for the most part, it was white and kind of pinkish. It was that hot and it was that intense. And now I know. In that moment, it was as if, and I've known of at least one other person, Bill Weiss, the 23 Minutes in Hell, his experience was the same, that it was in that moment, it's like the Lord rewires your mind so that you're a person who is not a believer. You're a person who wants nothing to do with God. And now here you are spending the rest of your eternity like that as well. So at first I'm like, where am I? What is this place? What's going, all these thoughts are hitting you at the same time. And to say panic doesn't even describe it. Your body's completely just being burned and roasted alive. And so I remember I looked down at my left arm because of the pain. It was just my entire being. It wasn't just the burning from the outside to the inside. It was the whole thing at once. And I looked down at my arms and I could not believe what I was seeing. My arm was a skinny, shriveled, decaying, it looked like a corpse. It was discolored, like it had been rotting forever. I just could not believe what I was seeing. And the spirit flesh, it's hard to describe the spirit realm because as a spirit, you're not just some misty thing. You're a body, but you're a spirit body. It's just different than our physical bodies, but it is a body nonetheless. I had a body, but it was a spirit body. And my spirit flesh, if you will, it was burning and sizzling, and then chunks of it would just fall off and hit the...
Et je me suis vu moi-même, mais en train de flotter, moi-même devant moi. Donc ça veut dire que je me voyais deux fois. Et à ce moment-là, je suis devenu, mais quand je vous dis complètement hystérique, j'étais fou. J'ai commencé à crier, sauter. J'essayais de courir, en fait, comme si je courais après moi-même. Et j'étais fou, je criais. Et quand j'étais dans cet état-là, faut savoir que j'ai pris conscience de vraiment toute la vie. Je sais pas comment ça se fait, mais je savais tout. Et je disais, les gars, aidez-moi, je vais aller en enfer, je vais mourir. Appelez un pasteur, appelez mes parents, je vais mourir, je vais en enfer. Et je courais après moi-même. Et mes potes, ils me contiennent, ils essayaient de me tenir parce que je sautais vraiment, je renversais tout dans l'appartement. Et ils me tiennent et je dis, les gars, s'il vous plaît, tenez-moi, tenez-moi, tenez-moi. Ils disent, on tient, qu'est-ce qui se passe et tout? Je dis, tenez-moi. Et après, je dis, les gars, c'est trop tard, c'est fini pour moi. Je vais aller en enfer.
Still want to keep debating about whether or not there is a God, whether or not there is a heaven, whether or not there is a hell. Still think that it's a figment of people's imagination.
Sometimes you can feel the heat that you know is flames in front of you, but it's heat. And at that moment, I'm sitting there saying, Jesus, help me. And I felt like I was totally lost. I have never felt that isolated in my life. And what do? You call on Jesus.
But it was a horrible thought that I was stuck in this place. And as I sank into that despair of complete hopelessness, my mind went back to my childhood in a Sunday school classroom singing "Jesus Loves Me," and I could see it and I could hear it.
Whether you believe in Christ or you don't, hell is real. Hell is real. Whether you're an intellect or whether you're someone who has never attended school in your life, hell is real, and hell is not something that is based on belief. This is not belief. This is not your belief. This isn't what you believe. This isn't everybody has respective rights in what they believe in. This is what is true. This is what is really going to happen. What is really going to go on? What is really happening? What is true? What is true? This has nothing to do with belief. I don't care what your belief is. I don't care what your background is. Nobody is going to sway me or convince me about my experience to denote it to be any less real than it is than you even trying to explain to me what you're talking about. I don't even consider half of what I see here to be real at all. It's all a facade. It's all a mirage. We're all just passing through. And we're all literally, and the majority of us are being deceived. And the devil is deceiving us. And it's all deceptive to make us think that we actually have these abilities and our autonomy can't be taken away. And this stuff can't be taken, that this life is really forever. Listen to me. There's no such thing as YOLO or living for the moment. You're going to have all the time in the world to live for the moment in terror for the rest, for eternity. In terror, in fear, you'll be living for the moment. And because that moment is all you have and nothing else will matter. Not one single thing you do here as a form of enjoyment will be even remembered for you to even say that at least you live the life that you live. The only thing that you will have to stake claim to this life is why did I even have a life to end up here in the first place? I would have rather not even had a life. I would have rather not even had any pleasurable thing, because at least there's still hope that I'm going to get through it. There's still hope that there's something better at the end of the road. There's still hope that things can change. The stuff we talk about all the time. What's the whole premise on wanting to live for the moment is that you only live once. Now imagine what if I told you only die once too? And then fate is decided. And if you can't understand eternity now, you will understand it then. And it's not up for discussion. It's not up for debate. I'm not looking for political talk. I'm not looking for schools of thought. I'm not looking for religious faiths and beliefs in the afterlife. I'm not looking for literature. I'm not looking for any of those things. The word of God is the word of God.
The crazy thing people need to understand is outside of our bodies, excuse me, outside of our bodies, we know that there is a heaven and a hell. You know what eternity is, and you know you deserve hell. Like there was no question about it, what I deserved. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't saying I was saved on earth. I hadn't even crossed my mind, that part actually. And I know it was only because no one else will experience what I experienced going through hell, or going to hell, really. Because I like to preface everything, and to tell you that because I was saved I was saved then. But the Lord knew I was going to come back and tell all these people.
When we get through hell, there's a ceiling in hell, and he slows down. And I remember clearly, I look to my right, and there's a dungeon, and there's demons in this dungeon, and there's people in those dungeons, and the demons are torturing the people. And I understand clearly, and he's taking me down. He's taking me from the top of the hell all the way to the very bottom,
and he's slowly bringing me down, and he's twisting me around to see everything. And I understand as he's taking me lower, for some reason, he puts in my understanding that it's getting worse. The worse the level of hell is, the worse the torment and the torture it's going to be. And I said to him, Lord, you could just drop me off right here. You don't take me down there. And he has me looking down. Now, hell is huge. It's bigger than I have ever seen, bigger than any city on the planet. It is about 10,000 feet high and is further than you could see. And I have an understanding that the place in hell that he took me was in the very center of hell. And I looked down, and there's a huge, huge lake. And I'll call it a lake or a river, but I could tell it's like 10 miles long, and it's about 1,000 feet wide, and there's 2 cliffs on this lake, and it's about 1,000 feet high, the cliffs. And he's taking me down there, and I said, I want to go down there, Lord. I don't want to go down there, because in the middle of this lake, there are literally countless of people. I can't count them all. I would figure in the millions. And it's horrific. And I don't want to go down there. I said, Lord, no, don't take me there. You just stop right here. But he doesn't say anything, and he takes me down really slow. It takes about a good minute. He takes his time showing me hell, and he's turning me around as I'm going down, and I'm seeing everything, and it is just blowing my mind. Why is he showing me this? And I'm hearing the screams and the fear, and he stops for a second before he lowers it down. And as he stops, I understand eternity. For a second, I'm just thinking about eternity. Eternity, it blew my mind. I can't even comprehend eternity in this physical brain here. Eternity is like if there is no time. Time doesn't exist. It's just the present, continually the present, and it never end. There will never be time. It's just, there is no existence of time. It's like we don't have any knowledge of time. That's what eternity is. And I understand that clearly.
Things like that. I felt myself falling.
So the first thing you felt was yourself falling?
Yes, like a.
But you're in a car. What do you mean?
In my mind, I went to a place of like, I can see my body falling from my eyes.
Wow.
Yeah, like I can see what I'm seeing, but I can't react. It's like a sunken place. That's real. I know it's just a movie and things like that, but that is real. That's because it's a point where like you can hear and you can see, but everything's so distant, there's nothing you can do about it. And I felt myself falling away from my eyes. And then all of a sudden, I went myself go straight to hell.
Straight where?
Hell.
Straight to hell.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? How do you know?
Before that point happened, my soul left my body. So
no, you say your soul left your body.
Yes.
What was that like? I mean, how do you know your soul left your body?
Because it was an aerial view. I was passed out or going what I was going through first and then passed out, but I can see where my dad was going. I told him the lanes he was changing. I told him the cars he was going behind, everything. And dad was
so after you came back, you told your dad everything that happened while you were passed out?
While I was passed out.
And you were like in the air looking at it?
I felt like an eagle. That's exactly what I felt like.
Looking down at yourself?
Looking down. I can see almost the whole city, but I can also see my dad at the same time.
Wow.
It was something unbelievable. And then when it got to that point, I went straight there.
I instantly go down. Boom. Supernatural speed of light, but it was almost slow motion. It was like a warp. It was the weirdest thing. It was like the movie Get Out. You're going down super slow, but it feels as if it's a fast feeling. And as I'm going down, you get all knowledge, but you don't care. So I'm falling down and I'm seeing the earth. The earth was so small. It was the small speck. And it was like, I'm watching her, but I could see the earth, but I'm falling. And now I'm hearing thoughts because I wasn't talking no more. I'm screaming in my head and I'm hearing this demonic being. It was the most sinister laugh. It was like one voice, but 1,000 voices laughing. It was like a legion of them. And they laughing like, we got you. We finally got you. You never getting out. Because I was thinking like, where am I? And I'm falling, right? And I'm seeing these other realms. I don't know what these other realms is. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just like, yo, I died in my sin. I'm never getting out of this place. I'm not even thinking about Jesus. It's so weird. I didn't think about Jesus. I was just like, it's over. It's over. Peeling my face off, screaming. And then on top of it, I'm hearing this, it's this demonic bing, boom noise. It's like a thunderous noise, sinister. Like, I heard heaven got music, but hell got music. It's instrumental, as if like it's making it worse than you going down to hell. So it's like I'm hearing this noise. I'm thinking like, yo, I'm talking to the demon. I'm actually starting to see the demon now. The demon was so huge. His head was out of the scene, but I was able to see his body. It was muscular. It was like weird looking, but I wasn't able to see his head. And it was laughing at me. And it was just grotesque. And it was like, yo, this is freaking me out. I'm falling in a supernatural. Everything is pitch black, but it's like I can see realms. And it's like the realms will have you in awe, but you know that you're going to hell that you don't even care about. You get all knowing. It's as if like, how can I put this? It's like you become a god, but you don't think about that. You know, like if you was going to heaven, you going to heaven. It's like you don't think about knowing everything. You already died. So it's like you don't care. You know, but for me, I'm going down. And as I'm going down, like the demons just keep mocking me. But the scariest part wasn't the demon. You know, like I told this testimony before on my channel, it wasn't the demon that I was worried about. It was never getting out of this place because I knew like I'm about to burn for eternity. You know, so that was the scariest part. And the music was scarier than the demon. The music was so loud, it was like speakerphones right next to me. It was like I didn't have no peace. My eardrums felt like they was beating. And I tried to mimic this on my channel, the noise. I looked up, it's something similar, but I just couldn't find it. It was it was spiritual. It's a spiritual noise, and it's boom, boom. It's like a movie. Hollywood got it. They got it, but they don't because it's supernatural noise. But I'm falling. And, I get to like this place of outer darkness. I didn't see the flames. I did get to a place, and I'm spinning around in a circle like this, spinning around. And now the demon is talking to me. You know, I'm having thoughts. The thoughts, you can't hide anything. But I'm spinning around out of darkness. I see this big being in front of me. And now I'm really lost my mind. I'm screaming God. And as I'm screaming God, I'm thinking it's going to work. And he's laughing. The demon keep laughing. Millions or thousands of their voices. Nothing happened. It was as if God didn't have no power. So it was like a beam of light popped up in my brain and said, say Jesus. And when I say Jesus, boom, came back in my body.
And so now I'm going down. And the car is getting smaller and smaller and smaller as I'm going down into the pits of hell. And when I got into the pits of hell, it's like, boom, all these other spirits came running and laughing. They grabbed me. They were as small as a penny in my mouth, pulling on my tongue. They was banging me with this sledgehammer. And I know the actual name of that spirit that does that. It's a sledgehammer spirit that's down in hell. I was teaching on YouTube the other day about that sledgehammer thing. And that attacks people in their sleep at night, even now. And that thing is banging me in my head. I'm going through all of these things nonstop without a break. They mess with your sexual organs. They're pulling on your ear. They're down in your ear canal. They're in your eyes. They're banging all kinds of way. And I'm just, I guess, relaxed because I'm used to relaxing through witchcraft. I guess relaxed like the witches when they banged me in my head and made me drink blood. And I knew I was in some kind of control like I was in the dirt, up on the soil. I know something was going on similar because it's the same system. So I guess laid back as they was tormenting me. They let me go like a rat, a cat does a mouse before he kills it. I was running and screaming. They grabbed me again. It was so horrible.
You close your eyes, you see exactly what's still staring at you, wanting to torment you, a demon. There's no escape. There is no timeout. There is no, let me run behind this tree and seek cover, and I have them run past me and I run this way. Nothing. There is no rest. They are on you 24/7, 7 days a week, for eternity. That's it. No breaks.
I want to say it goes around for 500 billion miles or something, but that might be bigger than the Earth. But it's just like the line was insanely huge, and it was all sexual perversion. It was all sexual. So people, homosexuals, child molesters, adulterers. Heck, if you're a straight guy and you just like women, if you're an adulterer, same deal, man.
And these demons were torturing them, throwing them back in and laughing. Even when they laughed, it hurt my whole body. I want to make sure everybody know this as well. When you're in the spirit realm, there is no such thing as a nervous system where your pain is sectioned off. You feel everything one time. So they say if you get smacked in the face, you will feel it instantly from your head to your feet, all at the same time. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not sectioned off. You feel the pain all at the same time, simultaneously, all over your body. It is not sectioned off. So that's what makes it more excruciating. That's what makes it more painful.
You heard that? You heard that?
In each one of these visions. So whatever you do for God on this earth, if you are a prostitute and you die without Jesus, in hell you forever be raped and have sex with demons, and it would not be pleasurable. If you was a murderer, in hell you will forever be getting murdered, and you will not die. If you loved video games, in hell you will play video game, but it will not be what you think. It will be demonic, and demons will torture you, and you cannot. If you love to dance and you didn't dance for God, in hell you would dance for demons, and when they will torture you, just like Michael Jackson. And Kobe Bryant loved the sport more than God. He loved it, and he's in a hell which is like a gym where there's no God, no people, no fans, no nothing. And I seen it, I was there, I stood in the gym looking at the ceiling, looking at the floor, and there was nothing there. Nothing, no one. And he's there, forever lost. I don't care what good deed you done. If you ain't got Jesus, you ain't got nobody. Mary can't save you. Buddha can't save you. Muhammad can't save you.
The noise alone is irritating, and even before somebody is thrown there, the fear, I don't know how to explain. Like you hear things exploding, and then the heat, the fear, that place is disgusting. Like I would never imagine even my enemy in hell. That's why I always say, if somebody says go to hell, that person is not your friend. Whether they were joking or not, it's not something you can joke about. Either they don't know what they are saying, or they don't wish anything good for you. So anybody who tells you that go to hell, that person is not your friend.
This is a weird thing. I didn't feel dead. When my spirit came out of my body, I felt alive. I mean, the worst thing I was feeling was fear. I didn't feel sick. I felt alive. And we know that our spirit man is going to live forever. Did you know that? Once you were created, once you were started, once God put his spirit on the inside of you and you were created, you're going to live forever.
And as they opened their mouths, I could see short white fangs, upper and lower, and bright red tongues. And the other thing that was remarkable about them is they looked very muscular, but they also looked very underfed, like they had been worked very hard, but they had also not been properly nourished. And they were carrying in their hands manacles. Both of them had a set of manacles. They looked like a gray metal, and they were very big and very heavy. And as they came to me, suddenly I could understand their thoughts, as if they projected their thoughts at me. Now, this is in the spirit realm. Speech doesn't seem to work, at least as far as I tried it. But you could communicate mind to mind, and I presume that was telepathy. I'd actually experimented with that before as a teenager, but that's another story. So I did understand and did believe in telepathy and actually had used it. So these creatures communicated by telepathy. And it wasn't just thoughts. It was images. It was emotions. It was feelings. It was a whole range of information, a whole spectrum of information. And it was in the blink of an eye, but it was a huge amount of information. One of the things that they imparted to me was images of hell. And they explained to me that they were here to take my soul. They considered me not as a human being with thoughts, emotions, and purpose, but simply as food and fuel for their purposes. And they showed me hell. It was awful. It was horrible. It was chaotic. It was incredible suffering, just beyond language to describe hunger, thirst, pain. And you're at the mercy of these creatures which hate you with an absolute passion, and they will torment you. And because in the tormenting of the human soul, they extract the energy or whatever it is they consider to be food or fuel from you through tormenting. So they have no reason to hold back on any torment, and they will torment you to the maximum degree. And they were evil creatures, chaotic, malevolent, and just. But they were also powerful. I could sense that these things could handle me like a dog would handle a kitten. So there wasn't any obvious way to resist them.
Still want to challenge God and call him wicked and call him evil, knowing that he made a way out. Still want to say that God is wicked.
Pero enseguida fue como en fracciones de segundo. Inmediatamente me transporté hacia un túnel. Y en el túnel no había luz. Era totalmente oscuro. Totalmente era como si tú entraras a una cueva. Era una cueva totalmente negra. O sea, no veía mi palma de las manos. No veía mi cuerpo, no lo veía. Y pude entender que yo estaba pasando por otra parte, que no era que yo no estaba experimentando que estuviera viva, porque dije, ¿estoy viva o estoy muerta? Y me toqué la palma de mis manos y me traspasé, los dedos traspasaron mi mano. Era como transparente y salía mi mano hacia el otro lado y supe que no había carne. O sea, dije, no me toco la carne. O sea, estoy muerta. ¿O qué está pasando conmigo? En ese momento sentí unas presencias, las voces de unas presencias que empezaron a burlarse, empezaron a reírse detrás mío y decían cosas muy feas, decían, tú eres una mala persona, tú eres lo peor, tú te mereces estar aquí. Y yo decía, ¿quiénes son ustedes? Y ellos no me decían nada, no me decían absolutamente nada, solamente se reían, ja, 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 y se burlaban y se burlaban y se reían y cada vez se iban aproximando más hacia mí. Y yo trataba de huir de esas presencias porque me dio ya mucho miedo, porque se sentía como presencias de voces de monstruos.
As this weight came over me, and it was like, it's over. Like, I can't get away from whatever it was. I stopped in the middle of the street, and I don't know if I overdosed. I don't know if I passed out and went to a vision. I don't know. But all of a sudden, I fell in the middle of the street, and I was in this tunnel full of thorns. Someone asked me the other day, was I awake? And I believe I was more awake than what I am right now in that place. And I was being dragged through this tunnel, and my flesh felt like it was ripping over and over again. So I did have this sort of body, even though I was in this place, and it was ripping over and over again. It was the worst pain I ever felt. And it kept getting worse and worse, tighter and tighter. And I heard this voice speak to me and say to me, this is what God wants for you. This is what Jesus wants for you. Lying to me, trying to pervert God to me and make me feel as though this is what God wants for everyone. This is the purpose of life, for us to die and go here. And I didn't want to believe that. And it kept getting worse. And one of the worst things was I didn't know if it was going to end. The moment that I got in that place, I felt eternity. Like I knew like I was a eternal being. Like I felt that weight of, wherever I'm going to be there forever.
And the stuff that they did to me was torture. They would pull my eyeball. I could literally feel my eyeball hanging like in the spirit on my cheek. I could feel it just dangling like that. And then they would thrust it back in there, and then they would pull it out again. And because I was asking them, can you please put my eye back in, please? And I mean, I was like a little baby, a little scaredy cat. I was just, can you please put that back? I mean, I was completely felt like I was at the mercy of those demonic spirits. And so that's one of the things that they did. Another thing that they did was, and for some reason I could tell just by listening to the demonic spirits, I could tell that there was a hierarchy. Like there's rankings. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seemed like there were different ranks in the demonic spirit realm. And it seemed like this head demon came over and really wanted to scare me to death. And he put all these demonic spirits in my mouth. I felt them, like my mouth opened up on its own, and they just went in like that, one after another. And I was just like that. And I remember I looked down at my arm, and I saw all these bumps. I'm wide awake. This is wide awake. And I felt all these bumps. I could see them all in my arm, on my skin. And then he pulled them all out again. And it just seemed like they were enjoying it, that this is their zone. This is what they do, they live to torture, they live to torment. It's no mercy whatsoever. Zero mercy. and not just quick torture is what it was. And somehow I made it through that night. And I said, if I can just get to a church, I'll get help. I think the following day was a Sunday, and I thought, if I can just get to a church, that's all I need to do is just hang.
But I'm focusing on the people, and as I look at them, they're screaming, all of them, they're screaming in horror. And it's like I could hear what they were thinking as they were screaming. I'm looking at them, they're screaming, and I noticed that they're also biting their flesh. But it wasn't like in the natural form where you would probably bite yourself and it would become a sore and it would take some time to heal. Every time they would bite themselves, it's like they could tear their flesh off with their teeth, but it wouldn't make any difference. It would be removed and it would be right there still. And they would continue doing that. And I realized they were doing that to get some relief from the pain that they were feeling, from the torture. I also noticed as I looked at their faces that were so agonized that they were also like grinding their teeth. They were grinding their teeth, grinding their teeth. And the Bible talks about it, weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. This grinding was like biting on metal, biting on a fork, or like nails on a chalkboard. It was the sound of it is horrifying. I also noticed the scent of this place. It was suffocating. It felt like there was no oxygen in this place, and it smelled like everything was burning. The most disgusting things that you can imagine was burning in this place. That was the smell of it. And I was overwhelmed with all this information, and I really wanted to leave. I'm like, okay, I can't handle any more of this. These people, I felt so sorry for them. I felt so sorry for them. Yet I knew that they also understood that it's not like they were being punished unjustly. They knew that this was where they should be. This was where they deserved to be. And I felt so horrible and I wanted to leave.
Make the right choice for your soul. Time is short. Thank you for being here. And until next time.